she said. Fix this Ferrari and you can marry my daughter. His reply left everyone's speechless heart. Disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction. All characters, names, and events are created for entertainment purposes only. The sun dipped low over the sprawling hills of California, casting golden light across the grand Redwood estate, a mansion so vast it seemed to have its own horizon. Exotic cars lined the marble driveway like jewels on display, each more expensive than the last. And at the center of it all stood a sleek, fire-red Ferrari. Its hood was open, its engine silent, and its owner, impatient. Evelyn Redwood, billionaire CEO, feared businesswoman, and a name that commanded respect in every room, tapped her manicured fingers against her arm. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. It was working perfectly this morning. Around her stood a group of high-end mechanics in crisp uniforms, each too intimidated to admit they couldn't diagnose the issue. "It's complicated, ma'am," one finally said. Evelyn's sharp eyes narrowed. "Complicated? It's a car, not a spaceship." Just then, a dusty pickup truck rolled hesitantly up the long driveway, drawing confused looks from the staff. Out stepped a man in worn jeans and a faded shirt, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. His name was Daniel Carter, a small-town mechanic who had been called in by mistake, or perhaps fate. One of the guards approached him. "You're lost." Daniel shook his head. "Got a call about a broken Ferrari." The guard laughed. "We don't need. Let him in." Evelyn's voice cut through sharply. She studied Daniel from head to toe, unimpressed. "You," she said flatly. "You're the mechanic they sent." Daniel nodded calmly. "Depends. You the one with the problem?" A few gasps rippled through the staff. No one spoke to Evelyn Redwood like that. But instead of anger, a faint smirk tugged at her lips. "Interesting," she said. "All right, Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel," she continued, "if you can fix this Ferrari, a car that trained professionals couldn't repair, I'll make you an offer." Daniel glanced at the engine, then back at her. "I don't work well with vague promises." Evelyn raised an eyebrow, amused. "Fine," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Fix this Ferrari, and you can marry my daughter." Silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then laughter broke out among the staff. Daniel didn't laugh. Instead, he looked at Evelyn, really looked at her, and then at the mansion, the cars, the people watching like it was some kind of show. Finally, he spoke. "I didn't come here to marry your daughter," he said quietly. "I came to fix a car." The laughter died instantly. Evelyn's smirk faded, replaced by something unfamiliar. "Respect. Go ahead," she said, stepping aside. Daniel rolled up his sleeves and approached the Ferrari. Unlike the others, he didn't rush. He listened, observed, touched the engine like it was telling him a story. Minutes passed, then 20, then an hour. The crowd grew restless, but Daniel stayed focused. Finally, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a small, worn screwdriver, and adjusted something deep within the engine, something the others had overlooked. He closed the hood. "Try it now," he said. Evelyn gestured to her driver. The engine roared to life. Smooth, perfect, alive. Gasps filled the air. "No way," one mechanic whispered. Evelyn stared at the car, then at Daniel. "You fixed it," she said slowly. Daniel shrugged. "Loose sensor. Happens." The other mechanics exchanged embarrassed glances. Evelyn stepped closer, her heels clicking against the marble. "Well," she said, crossing her arms, "a deal is a deal." Daniel wiped his hands again, unfazed. "I didn't agree to your deal." Evelyn smiled. "But you proved yourself. And I keep my word." Before Daniel could respond, a voice came from the mansion doors. "Mom, please tell me you're not doing this again." All eyes turned. Standing at the entrance was a young woman, elegant, composed, but clearly tired of something. This was Sophia Redwood, Evelyn's daughter. "Perfect timing," Evelyn said. "Sophia, meet the man who just earned the right to marry you." Sophia froze. "Excuse me." Daniel sighed softly. "This is exactly why I didn't agree," he said. Sophia walked down the steps, studying him, not with arrogance, but curiosity. "You fixed the Ferrari?" she asked. "Yeah." She nodded slowly. "Then thank you." Evelyn frowned. "That's it." Sophia turned to her mother. "I'm not a prize, Mom." The tension thickened. Evelyn's expression hardened. "This is how deals work." "No," Sophia said firmly. "This is how you work." Then she turned back to Daniel. "I'm sorry you got dragged into this," she said. Daniel gave a small smile. "Not your fault." For a moment, the world seemed to quiet between them. Then Evelyn spoke again, sharper this time. You may not want the offer, she said to Daniel, but you should. Do you have any idea what kind of life this is? Daniel looked around, the mansion, the cars, the luxury. Then he looked back at Evelyn. And what he said next left everyone speechless. I already have a life, he said. One I built with my own hands. It may not look like this, but it's mine. And I don't need to trade it for someone else's. Silence. Real, heavy silence. Even Evelyn had no immediate response. Sophia's eyes softened. You're different, she said quietly. Daniel chuckled. I've heard that before. Evelyn finally spoke, her tone less sharp now. You turned down wealth, power, and my family's name. Daniel nodded. Respectfully, yeah. Why? He paused for a moment, then answered honestly. Because none of that means anything if it's not earned the right way. That hit harder than any insult. Evelyn looked at him, not as a poor mechanic, but as a man she couldn't control. And perhaps, couldn't ignore. Days passed, but something had shifted. Evelyn couldn't stop thinking about Daniel's words. And neither could Sophia. So one afternoon, without telling her mother, Sophia drove out of the estate, and into a small town hours away. There, she found a modest garage. A sign read, Carter Auto Repairs. Inside, Daniel was working under a truck. He slid out when he heard the car. You lost? He asked casually, until he saw her. Sophia smiled. I don't think so. He stood up, surprised. What are you doing here? I wanted to see the life you wouldn't trade. Daniel wiped his hands again, slightly amused. This is it. She looked around, the worn tools, the simple space, the honesty of it all. It's real, she said. Yeah, he replied. It is. They talked, not about money, not about status, but about life, dreams, choices. For the first time, Sophia felt like someone saw her, not as a billionaire's daughter, but as a person. And Daniel, he saw someone trying to escape a world she didn't choose. Back at the mansion, Evelyn stood by the Ferrari, now perfectly functional. But something felt incomplete. For the first time in years, she questioned herself. Not her power, but her values. She picked up her phone. Find me Daniel Carter, she said. Weeks later, Evelyn returned to the small garage. This time, no guards. No arrogance. Just her. Daniel looked up as she approached. You again, he said. Evelyn nodded. I came to apologize. Daniel raised an eyebrow. That's new. I misjudged you, she admitted. And maybe, I've been misjudging a lot of things. Daniel leaned against the workbench. That happens. Evelyn glanced around. You built all this yourself? Yeah, she nodded. Slowly. I respect that. A small smile formed on Daniel's face. Thank you. Then Evelyn said something no one ever expected from her. I'd like to learn. Daniel blinked. Learn how to fix things, she clarified. Not just cars. For a moment, Daniel said nothing. Then he handed her the same small screwdriver he had used on the Ferrari. All right, he said. Let's start simple. And just like that, a billionaire learned humility, a mechanic proved his worth, and a woman discovered a life beyond wealth. As for Sophia, she kept coming back to the garage. Not because of the Ferrari, but because of the man who refused to trade his soul for it. And this time, no deal was needed. Heart 1500 WAD.